Let's see now how we are going to code the if-then-else structure using the Visual Basic. Let's create a new project. And let's start with the very first and simple form of the if-then-else structure. So let's have only one form and a text box and one label. And then a button, and bring another label under the button 1. So let's use label 1 and text box 1 for the input, and this is for the processing for the button, and label 2 will have the output. So the objective of this program is to enter a number. User will enter a number, and we'll use the if then statement to see if the number if it is greater than 10, then we'll say the number is greater than 10. If the number is equal to or less than 10, then we'll give another result or output saying that the number is less than or equal to 10. To help the user to know what is this text box for, let's include or change the text of the label 1 to something more meaningful. And we can do this by retexting the label 1 to, let's say, enter a number. And here we are. Enter a number. We don't need to rename it because we're not going to code this label, so we'll just retext it. For the text box, we don't need to retext it because we need to keep it blank for the user to enter a number, but we have to change its name because we are going to code it or use it in the code. So the naming convention for the text box is txt. And let's say txt number. For the button, we need to change its text from button 1 to something more meaningful, and let's say OK. And its name from just button 1 to btn OK. Label 2 will be an output display area, so we'll want to make it as a blank label. So we'll go to its text and retext it from label 2 to having some creating blank using spacebar to make it visible. We'll change the back color to any other color, let's say something yellowish here. So this will be the output area. And of course also we need to rename it because we are going to code it. So the naming convention for label is LBL, and let's say output. And the last thing for GUI is the form. We have to do two things. One thing is to change the text of the form from form 1 to something else. Let's say main form or main area as an example. And also we need to rename the form with something else other than form 1. And we can see the form name appears in two different places. One inside the Solution Explorer, and another one is under Properties Name. Best way to change the name is from Solution Explorer. If I'm going to change it here, it will be changed in the Properties box automatically. Just click on the name and be careful, only change the name, don't ever edit or delete .bb. So the name convention for the form is FRM, and it is form main, so it has MAIN as a name, for example. So now the name of the form has been changed inside the Solution Explorer, and you can see also it is changed inside the properties as well. Now our GUI is complete and we are ready for the coding. But before coding, there's a very important step, which is we need to save our work. We save our project. To save the project, we go to Save All. Click on the Save All. This dialog box will appear. Change the name project from default name to another new name. Let's say F, then Practice 1, and locate the project somewhere you can access it easily next time. So I will locate it here. So I will call it F Practice 1. So it will be saved in this folder under this name. I'll click on Save, and I am ready now for coding. But first, let's ask ourselves how many variables we need to create to run this program. We do have one input and one output. So for the input, we need to create a variable. So it will store the information that comes from the input to it. And for the output, we need to create a variable. So whatever comes from the processing, it will be stored in the variable and it will be displayed as an output for the user. So now we know we need to have two variables. Second question is, what type of variables? For the input, we know that the input will be only a number. So this is numeric. So we're going to assign a data type that is numeric for the input variable. And let's say it is short. So it will not be consuming a lot of memory, and there is no decimals in the input data. For the variables, for the output variables, we know that the output will be a message like the number is greater than 10, or the number is less than and equal to 10. So that's not, there's no numerics here. There are combination between letters and numbers, so that is a string. So we're going to assign a string data type to the output variable. Now, when we code, we have to take into our account that the input variable, it will receive the information from the form to the variable. For the output variable, it will send the information from the output variable to the label here that is shown in the form. Okay, let's now start naming these two variables. We should follow the naming conventions. And the naming convention for the variables, it starts by the prefix that represent the data type of the variable. So this is short, it will be SHO, and it should be in small letter. And after the three letters prefix, you give a name for the variable, and since this is an input for the number, so let's call it number. So it is SHO number. For the output, it's a string, so the prefix for the string is str, also lowercase. And it's an output, so let's give it a name with the output. Good. By this, we are ready to start coding. When it comes to coding, you have to ask yourself first where to place the code. This area is for the input. The user will enter the number here, and this yellow area is for the output. The user will see the result of his input. So the processing will take place in the OK button. So I'm going to type my code in the OK button. So I will double click on the OK button. Immediately I will be transformed from the form window to the code window. You will notice that these two lines have been created automatically, the private sub and end sub, and the cursor will be blinking between these two lines. Our code will be inside these two lines. How would you be sure that you are in the right tool? Well, the name of this sub it says BTN OK. If you go back to the form GUI and you click on the OK button and double check the name, yes, the name is BTN OK. So I am in the right place and I can start typing my code here. To start the code, you have first to type 4 essential lines as remarks. Remarks means the first one is declaration. Second is input. Third line is processing. And the last line is output. Okay, let's start with the inputs. And we have one input here, which is SHO number. It's a variable input. We're going to get the number from the text box by the user. So we named it as TXT number from the text property. Don't worry about the underline, I'm going to declare it later on. For the processing, we are going to examine this number whether it is greater than, equal to, or less than 10. We'll use the if condition, so if the inputted number, which is SHO number, is greater than 10, then we'll call the output, or we call the output as str. Output will be the message starting by the quotation mark since it is a string. So the message is the entered number is greater than 10. If the number is not greater than 10, which is less than or equal to, we can examine it by adding else. Else means anything not greater, which is equal to or less than. Then the output will be, so the str output will be equal to, again putting the quotation number, the entered number is not greater than 10, and again we have to close it with the quotation mark. So that's the processing. It's examining the input variable, whether it's greater than or not, and this is the message that is going to be shown to the user. In the output area here, we're going to have a code where we can display this message to the user. So we're going to do this by taking this output and assign it to the, remember we have the outcome here, or the output, we put this label and we called it LBL output. We called it LBL output. So what's in the LBL output? The LBL output dot text will be filled with whatever the message that came from this processing in the str output variable. So I will copy it and I will paste it here, and that's it. So now whatever the message, whether it's this one or this one, it will be filling the output label in the form. Now we cannot run, our code is almost complete, but we cannot run it because we have these underlines. This means we have errors. And obviously the errors here are due to the declaration or assigning the data type to the variables. So the first variable is for the input variable. I do advise you that you don't retype the variables names. The best option is to copy and paste so that you will not miss any characters or any letters of the variable name. So for declaration, dim, and I paste my input variable. Obviously, this is what? This is a short data type, so sh short. And now it's no more underlined. And these three underline is for the same variable, that is str output. Again, I will copy it. I will take the declaration dim, paste it, and str means it is as a string. By this, there is no more errors, no underlines, so our code is complete. Again, don't forget to save your work every time so that you will not lose your work. So our code is complete, our GUI is complete. The next thing is let's run it and examine the program is working correct or not. We are now in the design mode. To go to the run mode, you just need to click on this little triangle, or as you know that you can go to the debug and just click on the start debugging, it's the same, or you just press on the F5 key from your keyboard. So run, and here's our program. Let's examine. So let's type a number, let's say 11. It should give us a message that the number is greater. Yeah, the entered number is greater than 11. And we see that the line is going out of the form. We can correct this. So we can come here and let's put the line here from starting a little bit far, so we can give enough space for the message. Run it again and type 11 greater than 10. Very good. What if it is 10? It should give us it's not greater than 10. Yes, it's not greater, it's equal. If we say 1 is not greater than 10, let's say 100 is greater. So our program working very good, and we were able to examine the number 10, whether, or the number entered by the user, whether it is greater than or less than or equal to 10 using the if condition or if then decision structure.